Do it over with Ken, right?
So,
Okay, we're going to do a little in-service here on the Alaris IV pumps that the Putnam County Ambulatory Care Center has and St. Rita's has. This here is just basic knowledge. They're going to have a little troubleshooting on what to do if you acquire an air bubble, if you have an occlusion. I'm going to show you where it shows up on the screen. It'll actually, if you watch your screens, it'll tell you what the problem is normally and tell you, we'll troubleshoot on how to fix those problems. One thing to remember, when you do take an IV pump out of the care center, always go over what drugs are hanging, what rates they have them at, and what channel the drug is on. Saline is basically going to be easy. Any of your regular IV drips are just going to be under the maintenance, IV maintenance. But when you come to any kind of antibiotics, dopamine, cardizem, nitroheparin, those are actually going to be under the IV guardrail drugs. It's going to show their generic or trade name, and that's going to come up on the screen, and I'll show you what that looks like. After your IV, say you're running an IV antibiotic, after that's done running, it's going to stop. They're going to have that preset. It'll stop, so you're not going to have to worry about messing with any buttons or turning anything off. One thing to remember, if you're running any kind of a cardiac drug, nitroheparin, cardizem, dopamine, any of those, do not stop the infusion at any time. If you have a problem, and that's what this is about, we're going to show you how to work through that so you can keep the drug running. Those are drugs you just can't stop and not worry about. Those are drugs you can't hit the silence button if it's beeping. It's going to have to be corrective because those patients need those drugs running all the time. So we'll just kind of go over some of it, and then we'll have some questions that I'll go over that I've had concerns from other paramedics or intermediates that have taken the pump out of the care center. One other thing to always remember, any pediatric patient you take out of the ambulatory care needs to be on an IV pump, even if they just have saline running. They need to be on an IV pump, and you need to make sure that that rate stays the same so you don't fluid overload this kid. So first thing, we'll just go over the basics. System on. It's pretty much going to tell you exactly what you need to do, and it has a few questions you're going to need to answer before it's going to let you go on to running the solutions. This is a maintenance reminder. You guys shouldn't have to worry about that. St. Rita's Biomed comes down and takes care of all that. Your first question is it a new patient? You're not going to have to set these pumps up, but these are things that the nurses are going to do before you leave. Next question's always, they're asking, is this a pediatric? If it is, you hit the yes button. If not, hit no. We're going to make it an adult. And then we need to confirm it. We hit adult, need to confirm. Patient ID, they'll take care of all of that. Now you see here we have channel A and channel B. If I add another channel, and these are designed to add channels, people have multiple drips. You can see it working through. You can see where it added the third channel. Today's we're only going to use 2 of the channels, but they can have up to like 6 channels added to their pump. So you could be dealing with multiple drips. Chances are that's not going to happen with us, and that's probably a good thing. Here it's battery runtime. It just showed it 7 hours. One thing, if the battery would go dead while you're driving down the road, you're going to have a series of beeps. You're going to have green light flashing. It's going to say battery low. It's going to show you a runtime of, say, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, whatever. Plug it into your inverter, and then you should be good. Here we're going to select a channel. You have 3 options: guardrail drugs, IV fluids, basic infusion. If I hit guardrail drugs, it brings up all the generic names. I hit guardrail IV fluids. This is saline. Just going to hit the maintenance. It says maintenance IV fluid was selected. Is this correct? You hit yes. And here's where your rate will be. And remember, this is usually just for your salines, lactated ringers, things like that. Say the patient's going to be getting a bolus. We hit it at 999. You can't hit it at 1,000 mil an hour. It doesn't go that high. 999 mil an hour is the highest it goes. So we want to give them a liter. We'll hit it at 999 mil. And then you look down here after you have your rate and volume set. It says press start. And press start. Here it says here rate exceeds guardrail limit of 500 mil an hour. Proceed. Yeah, we want them to have as fast as they can. Okay. Here's our first alarm. Check IV set. I don't have the set in the channel. I can hit silence just to get rid of that annoying beep. And when we set these up, this blue sets right on top. This gets set into here. And you close it. Now it says restart channel. If we hit restart, it's going to check, and we have air in the line. Good deal. Did that without trying. Okay, air in the line. Things that can cause. I'm hitting silence just for the training purposes. Air in the line. Things that can cause air in the line is, we'll open this up. We'll take it out. IV fluid was not ran through. We can run it through. Make sure all the bubbles are out. And I will tell you with these IV pumps, they are pretty sensitive right around this little blue. And you see when I flick it, I'm not going to get rid of these IVs. I'm not going to get rid of the air bubbles. You can try flicking it. Now we can hit restart. There you go. We have our maintenance infusion started. We got rid of the air bubbles. Air bubbles when the IV fluids are already connected to the patient. I'm going to hit pause. Things you can do. You would need to disconnect the IV fluids from the patient to get rid of the air bubble. When they're using their extension set, this will be connected to the patient's IV catheter. You need to put your clamp on. Can you see it? Mm-hmm. We would take this away from the patient. This is still connected to the patient. Remember, this is your J-lube, your extension set. That's why we use them. Okay, then you can open this channel up. Always make sure that you close the clamp. That leaves it open. Make sure your roller clamp is up, and you run your fluids through. We're going to hit silence just for the purpose of teaching. After you run your fluids through, you check your line. You see no air bubbles. I always flick this just because even the tiniest little bubble right in this here chamber can cause the monitor to beep air bubble. I always flick it just to get rid of all the air bubbles. Connect it back to your patient. Remember, this is connected to the patient. Tighten it. Open your clamp to the patient. Put your IV setup back in the channel. Close it. And then hit restart. Make sure your roller clamp is up. And you have a free-flowing IV. I've had them already where you just cannot get rid of the air bubble in your IV line. If that ever happens and you've tried to troubleshoot and you can't get it working, you can always take your IV bag off, flip it upside down. You can put a new IV tubing on, disconnect it from the pump, and flow your fluid through your IV tubing again so you have it clear of air bubbles. At that point, once you have the new line without any air bubbles, connect it back in. Remember, this goes first. Set this in, close it, and then you would have to disconnect from the patient from the extension site. Remember to close your clamp, disconnect, and reconnect your new tubing that you just put on your bag. Reconnect the new tubing to the patient. Tighten it on, open your clamp, and you hit restart. Make sure your roller clamp is up. And you have free flowing fluid without the air in it. Okay, now for this purpose I'm going to stop this or pause this channel again.